Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
They call me Kelly. Vanessa.
Yeah.
Last week, first of all, we're recording on Mother's Day.
Yes, we are.
So our Mother's Day episode dropped, and happy Mother's Day to everybody again.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Right. Vanessa, last week you did the episode, or you did the movie Left Behind.
Yes.
And my mom texted me.
Oh my gosh.
And she told me a story that I had just no idea of. She was saying how much first of all, she loves listening to you guys. So she made sure to let me know.
Happy Mother's Day, Kelly's
Happy
mom.
Mother's Day, Kelly's mom.
Vanessa's mom.
And my mom.
Anyway, she was terrified of the rapture when she was a child. And the way she put it, the holy rollers got to her.
Oh, sure.
Which would have been, the very religious types.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it the rapture back then. They just referred to it as the second coming.
Oh, sure.
And she was terrified as a child that she would either be raptured and wouldn't get to live her life, or that she'd get left behind and had to be with all the sinners and everything. And I'm like, what a horrible thing to teach your kids, to put into your kids' heads.
That's right. Yes.
Did I tell you how I first heard about
I'm not sure, probably, but I don't really retain anything
I
you
was
say.
I was at my grandma's house. I was a little kid, like 5 or 6. And there was a lightning storm and the power went out. And I was afraid of everything. I spent the entirety of first grade underneath a desk, literally not making that up. That is what I did. And so I went underneath the dining room table in my grandma's house, and my sister decided this was a great time to go on back to the end of the Bible and open it up and start to read to me from the book of Revelations.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my experience, my first tiptoe into that world. And I was like crying.
Older siblings are the best.
Stories. So many stories.
So I was raised pretty much non-denominational, but my mother actually did have a rapture-esque sort of moment one time with me. We were was pretty young. My dad still had his GTO. And I was in the back seat, and her friend were in the front seat. And apparently I was being a raging pain in the ass. And my mom stopped, turned around and said, "You need to be quiet or I'll say the numbers." Like, what the hell is she talking about? The numbers? And so I'm like, "What do you mean?" And her friend jumped right in line, joining. "Oh, yeah, the numbers. That's some powerful stuff." My mom's like, "Yeah, when every baby's born, they have numbers across their chest or stomach.
God.
And the parents memorize those numbers. Nobody ever writes them down. You can't, or they won't work. So you have to memorize these numbers. And if I say them, you'll be transported to the land of numbers."
Oh my God.
Where you'll have to live in a world of numbers the rest of your life.
Oh
Holy
my
shit.
God.
I don't know where this came from. This is terrifying.
It worked. I shut up.
My respect for your mother has grown exponentially.
Wow, that is some inventive shit right there.
Yeah, it worked. I still remember that one. That was wild.
Wow.
I think I offended somebody this weekend when there's been a lot of abortion talk lately, as you can imagine.
My favorite.
And I was like, I am not just pro-abortion. I am post-birth abortion pro. If you've just decided after a year or two I've made a horrible mistake, abort that kid.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they looked at me with about the same look you had just now, Vanessa.
Yeah, the world is really a piece of shit right now. That's all I have to say. It's like awful because you can't do anything about it because like how many justices are there? Like 12. So you just
9.
got to 9. You just got to fucking let them do whatever they're going to do. You can't do anything unless somebody goes and murders them.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
I know that's awful.
Gonna get an investigation on our podcast now.
I know. But like, I'm just trying to think of like how on earth you would ever change the clicking movement towards what is going to happen. And there's nothing you can do. So it's like, well, I'm just going to be sad about it. Cool. I miss being able to have any control over my body. It was good times.
Well, everything is a pendulum. It will swing back at some point. It's just rough being in the outer edges of it like we are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Hey, let's speak of worse things.
Oh, God.
We all finished Moon Knight, right?
There's a relativity stretch going here, but yeah, it was pretty bad.
We did all finish Moon Knight. That is correct.
What a fucking disappointment.
Jesus, man.
I would love to know kind of what it was that you guys thought or felt about it, because I'm so new to Moon Knight.
Well, I would have liked to have seen, I think Moon Knight works best when he is a non-superpowered individual.
Mhm.
And I think that it would have been neat to see some real dive into the dissociative identity stuff,
Yeah.
and seeing if perhaps Moon Knight himself, the superhero, was also just a different persona of this guy.
Yeah.
And we could have seen some really interesting things going on that way. I thought that they kind of dropped the ball when all of a sudden they let Steven start fighting really well, because that's not how the ID works.
Mhm.
He wouldn't just be able to fight because one of the other identities knows how to fight. And so there were things that, really bothered me. But then just this end with, 2 Titan gods fighting above
What
them.
the hell was that?
And all sorts of flying and changing costumes and all this shit. I was like, this doesn't have to be a superhero battle. This could have been, I think that it could have been, Moon Knight always worked best for me when he wasn't even sure if Khonshu was real.
Right.
Yeah.
When he thought, he's like, I have powers, kind of, or maybe I'm just really good at fighting. I don't know, but I'm clearly insane, or am I? And that wasn't going on here.
The only thing I think that could have made that giant fight thing make any sense at all, they're supposed to be, Moon Knight and the other guy are supposed to be avatars of these gods.
Right.
So maybe if the gods were up there fighting and mirroring what was going on between them on the ground, okay.
I wondered that same thing.
It feels like to me the writer and maybe the director just wanted to do that one episode where they talk about how the personalities were made.
Yeah.
Because that one was done really well.
Yeah,
That was really
so
interesting.
Good. That was the second to last one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really, really powerful episode. I definitely agree. I wish that we had seen, because I was always under the understanding or feeling that Moon Knight was another personality as well as Lockley. So there were at least 4 going on in there. So it really sucked to be teased about Lockley for so fucking long, and then just have it be like, oh, kind of weird exclamation point.
Yeah.
I was like, why is this guy even back? Why didn't you just kill him at the end of the thing if you're just going to like, yeah.
And then right in the middle of the huge fight, let's just have him black out and not worry about having any of this shit happen on screen.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, but the one thing I did really enjoy, though, was Layla and her costume. It's Layla, right?
Yeah,
I think
but
so.
I hated it.
Well, okay, I'm sure it is like wildly out of Moon Knight, but compared to Wonder Woman's gold costume that she wore for 2 seconds and it got ripped off and meant nothing, I was like, this one works and she's using it. I'm very psyched about that.
It fell into the part that I hated of why do we have so much superpowers happening all of a sudden?
Sure.
And was that a character that was in Moon Knight that I just
They named
about?
it Red
something.
Scarab, which is a male character traditionally.
But it was in Moon Knight though, because I
Yeah,
had
I
no.
didn't know.
It's in
I watched
Marvel.
this going. I missed them naming it until I read about it later.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is this? ISIS? Are they getting ready to bring back the TV show from the 70s or something? What is the context for this character? And how does a hippo translate into that?
I was surprised by that too.
I was curious what the avatar of her would be, and for for the avatar of the hippo god to be winged and not hippo-like at all.
Yeah.
I
mean, she didn't have to get to look like a hippo, but she could have had like the strength or something. There could have been a relative.
the proportionate strength of a hippo. Wait a
Yeah, or
second.
something, not a flying looking.
It should have been like, another bird or something else. Like, because
it's a
she had
mess.
all those different things being like, I'll be your avatar, I'll be your, like she could have chosen any of them.
I'm just reminded of that first season of Daredevil, which I thought was really strong. And even though it had a couple of episodes we didn't need in it, and we never got to see the costume until the end, all of that stuff, I felt like Moon Knight could have followed a path like that, and we could have gotten something really interesting. Instead, leaving it open like this, and with Oscar Isaac saying that he hasn't signed a contract to continue, I'm like, well, why couldn't we have tied this up a little neater then?
Yeah.
Disappointing. Yep, disappointing one.
Well, I have seen so much, you guys. But since we're on the Marvel train, have either of you checked out Doctor Strange yet?
Have not, but I knew that you would.
Of course. Yeah. So, yeah, that is.
Is Sam Raimi back, or is he?
This is really interesting. Leading it up into it, I had heard a lot of people being like, yeah, Sam Raimi's they've got the leash on him and he's, under the MCU. And then right before it came out, like the day before, Raimi was like, just so you all know, I got to do exactly what I wanted to do. There was no holding back. There was nothing. This is my movie. So any of that kind of crap, just, get rid of it. And having watched that movie, that is the most fucking Sam Raimi movie. It is basically Evil Dead. It is literally
nice.
There were moments I was like, that's Evil Dead. That's Evil Dead. It should be an R-rated film.
Well, you haven't told us you love it, or
I am processing.
Okay.
I love a lot of things about it, but this story is not one. So there are emotional developments that happen. And because it's like a very fast paced, almost zany style, you don't care about some of those emotional beats.
Yeah.
And so that sucked because I was like, I don't care if this happens or that, or you do this or you do, like, it just doesn't matter. But the actual filmmaking, the actual storytelling and visuals were fucking nuts. So
I think part of the problem Marvel's fallen into is their build up to Avengers Endgame was so successful, and they kind of forgot how they did it, where for a good chunk of movies, they weren't really building to anything. And then they started to, okay, let's actually build this into something. And not every movie that came out had to have the third act be all about whatever's going to happen
next.
Yeah, next couple movies or whatever. And just let it build as a really good story to a good final. They're not doing that anymore. It feels like every movie seen recently, and even the TV shows are like, see, here by the end, look, we're building to this coming out later, as opposed to just having a scene at the end of the movie that built you for the next movie.
Yeah.
It's just like make your movies and then figure out how, to subtly include this is where we're going, as opposed to beating us over the head with it.
And it's hard too because this heavily involves Wanda, which I'm sure a lot of people did, get the clue of, and because she's in the trailer. And it's really hard because the version they leave you with in the show, it feels like that's not the version you're dealing with in the movie.
It looks more like the darker version of Wanda that came around, I think, in the X-Men at one point.
Yeah.
When she went.
Well, shouldn't it have been? She had her hands on the Darkhold at the end of the episode.
So I didn't know what the Darkhold was. I was like, oh, it's just a magic book. Cool, way to go. I didn't know that meant anything. And I don't think that they projected to me that it meant much of anything. I was like, oh, cool. She's like hanging out and, she's really like come to a place because of all this, she recognizes the darkness like in her and what she's done. And she's going to try and like bring it all back in. And no, I mean, spoilers for minimal amount. She's fucking terrifying in this movie. Sam Raimi did a good job of I thought at least she was pretty freaky.
In the original comic, when Wanda went
Yes.
full, she
She
insanely
destroyed
powerful.
like a universe or something. She like fucked a
like
lot of
Dark
stuff up.
Phoenix level stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she did the No More Mutants.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Completely changed comics. Well, you've definitely got me more interested. I have to admit, the stuff you're talking about, Eric,
Hmm.
is a big part of why I've got that superhero fatigue, because it feels like you're just watching this story that never ends now, and it's like, oh, God, I'd sure like to get down to a Daredevil story again, where he's fighting crime on the streets.
Right. And it's like, okay, you have to, if they're going the direction that they maybe originally wanted to go, you have to watch the Eternals, whether or not you want to watch the Eternals. It's like, well, this is setting up this, and this. I mean, that entire movie exists to set up a new leg of the Marvel universe that they may not do now because it wasn't.
Well, let's get a little geekier then. And doesn't the whole Moon Knight with real Egyptian gods kind of go against what the Eternals told us?
Brain. Probably. Well, I mean, Eternals, they like the idea was that there were a lot of gods that were based off of them.
Right.
But I don't think that meant that there weren't gods.
Oh. I guess I thought that's exactly what that meant.
I don't think so. I think I've heard people talk about this before on podcasts. I think that the idea is that there are still gods. It's just that people were mistaking them or creating gods out of them as well.
Okay.
Sure.
But is it going to matter? Because is that going to continue on, and Shang-Chi and Moon Knight and like, what, you guys? There isn't enough money. Like, you guys have money, but you don't have that much money.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like
talking about Disney here.
I mean, you have to have 5 movies for each of these, and then they'd have all. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyways,
Yeah.
let's move on to another franchise that continues to put out many, many things.
Mm,
The Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Did you watch it?
I did.
Oh, man. It's so good.
I really am so freaking psyched.
Sell me on this, guys.
So good. It's pre-original Star Wars.
Star Trek.
Or Star Trek. Captain Pike is the captain. And he is so good. He is such a charismatic actor, and he is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
His bit where he says the classic line is so good. And you've got Spock is in it. And the guy they got playing Spock is, I actually looked up, is he Nimoy's kid or something?
Yeah, he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
He looks pretty good. And
they've got a Kirk.
Which is not our Kirk, but is a Kirk. And they've got an Uhura.
So there's lots of touches. Of course, it's modern Star Trek, so the Enterprise looks kick-ass.
So it's the Enterprise, though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks nothing like...
I think that we've all kind of realized technology changes as these movies are being made, and you either go with it or you don't.
Although the exterior looks a lot like
the original.
The remastered special effects ones. At least.
Yeah.
So, but it's the most Star Trek feeling thing they've done in a long time.
It feels like, and I hope this is the case, that it is episodic.
I think it's going to be both.
Overarching.
I think it's probably going to be both, because the mentality now anymore is, I mean, almost nobody does episodic anything except for maybe sitcoms or something.
Yeah.
Because they want to bring you back. I don't think it's going to be Discovery level.
I sure hope not.
Ongoing, or Picard ongoing. But I don't know. I liked it a lot.
Remind me, is it Discovery that introduced Pike again?
Yes.
So it's that same actor?
Same actor.
And that is in a different time frame than the Strange New Worlds?
It's after his time in Discovery. He kind of buttons down the hatches and is like, I don't want anything to do with any of this because I saw my future and fuck that.
Yeah.
And they kind of convince him to go back into space and jump onto a starship again.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will check this out.
It's very, very good. I mean, I like Discovery, but I love it when a show takes chances and does something way outside of the norm, but still keeps the flavor of their original.
Mm-hmm.
So I know why Star Trek hardcore fans really don't like it, especially last season. Last season was kind of weak. But I think this is going to be very popular with more hardcore Star Trek fans because it just feels like, this could have been an episode written with a very different cast that we all know.
Yeah, it does feel like, because it is what it's called, Brave New Worlds, right?
Strange New World.
Strange New World. So it feels like each episode is going to be like checking out a planet or, making some kind of progress. And I really dig that.
And they did the classic Kirk thing right off the bat of Prime Directive. Screw that.
Oh.
Yeah, basically. Like, you know what? We're in real territory now. We got to do some real shit.
But I think the main thing is just having a truly charismatic captain that makes you go, I can see this guy commanding an entire Starfleet of people and them all going, let's go.
Yeah, totally. I think it's interesting too, because that character, when he showed up in Discovery, I wonder if he was meant to only be there for like 2 episodes and they just kept hanging out because they're like, but he's so good and everybody likes him.
Yeah, he was. That's when I liked Discovery the most, actually, was that segment.
Yeah, it was so good.
So, and Rebecca Romaine Stamos is back as his. I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Sorry, folks. But she returns.
Well, the spoiler is it's just Rebecca Romaine, right? She's no longer a Stamos.
That's right.
So.
There you go.
Oh, I didn't know.
For like years and years.
I mean, look, I'm not up on celebrity
not watching
gossip,
TMZ with the rest of us.
I'm not.
Something that I think we have all finished, the final issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin.
I just bought it like yesterday.
Oh, you haven't read it yet?
No, but I mean, you can talk about it. It's fine.
Well, I will just say that I was a little let down with the ending. As much as I loved everything leading up to it, I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Did they just like win or not win?
Well, I'm not going to give it away. You haven't read it yet. I would just say that I felt like it was leading up to something much bigger. And then it was kind of I don't know. I wanted another issue, I think.
Yeah, I think that would help. That help. It's kind of got, frequently referenced Stephen King problems. Like, here's a really cool story. Shit. How do I stop this story?
Right. The great thing about it, did you buy then did you get like buttons with yours and everything?
No, it didn't come with anything.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I follow Kevin Eastman on Instagram and he's posting all these pictures of the hand-drawn buttons he's done and everything.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was in my box and I went and picked it up and it was just in a nice.
Oh, you mean the subscription box that you were so terrified to get?
I was really scared.
How's it going?
It's fine so long as like I'm so scared to tell them when they get it wrong. But I did have to say, like, I did actually get brave enough to tell them I already own this one issue last time I was there. So I was very proud of myself. I was like, I have Human Target number
Good job.
6. And then they took off Human Target from my entire list and now I had to re-add it. So it's so scary.
Usually the problem with the subscription box is pretty soon you realize I'm dropping $50 every time I come in here and I come in here twice a month.
Yeah.
This might be too many comics.
Yep.
You might occasionally miss one or something, but if you got a subscription, you're solid.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I discovered a really, really, really incredible show that I am so stoked to share with you guys.
Is this another dating show?
No, actually, it's not. I found real content. I had a minute. So on Amazon Prime, there is a show called Outer Range.
Oh, fuck. I want to see this so bad, man.
I'm a couple episodes into it. I'm digging it.
I really like it. It's
Josh Brolin?
Yeah.
Love that, man.
Really good. I mean, I was really hesitant because I was like, it better not be like a cowboy movie that just has like, or show that just has little touches, but it's pretty weird in really solid ways. I just finished it last night. So is
the series finished for? Okay. And is it set up for another season?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
For sure. But I keep forgetting the name of the show and I just keep calling it Holes.
Like very different movie. Probably a couple different movies.
Yeah. So I'm just like the whole show, which is not a spoiler. It's literally in the setup of the entire show. So yeah, check it out.
Really, really solid acting.
very good acting.
I mean, this has got Emmys all over it, right?
It's got a real Twin Peaks feel to it as well, where everything's just a little off and people are just a little off. And you're like, what the hell is happening right now?
I saw an interview with him, and the clip they showed was him saying that prayer around the table.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh shit, man, I need to watch this.
Yeah, there's a lot of God talk. Like, what is he? And is he good and therefore also evil? And yeah, there's a lot of interesting.
Nice.
Josh Brolin has really stepped up in the last couple of years as becoming, a real A-list guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else has he been in?
Well, he was, of course,
Little Avengers movie.
yeah, he was Thanos in the Avengers.
Old Country for Old Men. Old Country for Old Men.
Yeah,
No Country for Old Men.
That was 10 years ago now, though.
Yeah, but I mean, that was one of the ones that really kind of pushed him onto the scene.
He was, of course, Cable in Deadpool 2. And he's just got one of those mean, craggy faces and everything. I just really, really enjoy him.
Much lighter fare. Dan's like, hey, I want to watch this. Halfway through, I was, oh, shit, I've seen this before. But it is good. The Way Back.
I don't know this one.
I don't know, 2013, maybe earlier, about a kid who goes to summer thing with his family, and his family's kind of a mess. Because his mom has a new boyfriend, and it's, what's his name from The Office and The Daily Show.
Steve Carell?
Yeah, Steve Carell playing an asshole. Like, wow, this might be the first movie I've watched where I really don't like you at any point. And he goes and finds a summer job at a water park, and finds out that even though he's this geeky, dorky guy, that he can have fun and be kind of cool. And it's just a fun, lighthearted little movie.
Aww.
And it was very well done and plenty fine to watch a second time. And, one of those things that's like, how you don't end with going, oh, God, what's wrong with the world?
Sounds like a perfect way to kind of crack into summer.
Yes, it is. That's a good point. Crack your ass into summer.
It's time.
Wow. Well, with that, why don't we take a little break? And when we come back, we're talking magic spells.
Can you do this? Sure.
Mattel's magical musical thing makes making music easy.
How about this?
The magical musical thing is electronic, 9-volt battery not included.
Top that. You're weird.
Mattel's magical musical thing is electronic, comes with songbook.
We have returned. Okay, this was my subgenre, guys, and it was because I had such a good time with that Nicolas Cage episode. I was like, let's find more magic in the world. And with that in mind, I chose from 1987, The Believers.
More than anything else, Cal Jameson wants to leave the horror of his old life behind. Now, in his new life, he's about to discover that the real horror is just beginning.
Don't you come any closer! You see what they did to the kid in there?
You said he found the body of an oldie with a lot of religious paraphernalia, right?
A religion as old as time.
One life from each of us counts.
Versus an unimaginable force for evil.
This ritual's being performed now. One life is all he has.
Nothing can stop them.
It's a power you can't imagine. Want them to know who you are? Do you?
What have they done to you, Sean?
I can't move.
No one can help you.
They got my shield. Don't you get it?
You looked into his eyes, and you both felt the power of the man who killed them.
Jessica!
They know who you are.
Chris was chosen, Cal. When he found the shell, it was a sign. We want you to join us. Chris!
Dad! Let me go!
Chris!
Dad!
Anyone?
Nope. No idea.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Vanessa. I don't know if you'd like this movie or not. I'm not sure even how I felt about it at the end of it.
Huh.
A budget of 13 million. Excuse me. Budget of 13 million and box office of 18.7 million. So,
Oh.
you know, Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at 42% and the audience has it at 45%. It was directed by John Schlesinger,
Oh, really?
who is a name you should know. He directed Midnight Cowboy, The Marathon Man, Sunday Bloody Sunday, just a bunch of gigantic movies in the 70s and 80s.
Mm.
It was written by Mark Frost. Mark Frost co-created Twin Peaks.
Mhm.
He also wrote Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. And then I know him best because he wrote two novels I really, really love called The List of Seven and The Six Messiahs, which tells a realistic version of Sherlock Holmes where who's Holmes' sidekick?
Watson.
Watson gets pulled into these mysteries and everything, and there is this British secret agent. You know, this is all period piece who's solving these things, and Watson ends up kind of taking the stories that he does with him and turning them into Sherlock Holmes stories. It's really, really
Oh.
good stuff.
That's good. They're very
That's
good.
fun.
This stars Martin Sheen, who has 261 acting credits. You would know him probably from Apocalypse Now or The Dead Zone. And he was Uncle Ben in The Amazing Spider-Man. That was who's the actor?
Oh, I was gonna
Not
say
Toby and not the new one, but
Oh, wait. What? So Alexander Garfield?
Garfield.
Garfield, yeah.
Not Alexander.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Something Garfield.
Something Garfield. Everybody who's listening is screaming it at you.
My brain is not ready.
It also stars Helen Shaver. She was in the Amityville Horror. She was in The Color of Money, 88 other films. It also stars Robert Loggia.
Ooh. Ooh la la.
L as in look, it's Robert Loggia. O as in, oh, is that Robert Loggia? Anyway, he's been in Lost Highway, Big, Psycho 2, everything. I love this guy. And then very, very young Jimmy Smits, who was, of course, in The Heights just recently. He stars in the prequel Star Wars movies as Bail Organa, and I imagine we will see him pop up in this Obi-Wan Kenobi series that is coming up. Okay. So this opens with Martin Sheen out on a jog, and he comes home, and his wife and kid are in the kitchen, and the wife is doing something, and he's just a normal guy. He's a psychologist. He's making good money. His wife is doing something in the kitchen while the kid is coloring, like at a dinner table or something, and the coffee maker starts doing this weird thing, sparking a little bit or something, and she goes to unplug it, but she is standing in some spilled milk that the dog has just knocked over or something, and she gets electrocuted in this really uncomfortable graphic scene where Martin Sheen comes out of the shower because the lights in the place start flickering, and he comes running down because the kid is screaming, and then he just screams because he knows what's going on but can't really do anything about it, and watches his wife get electrocuted. And I was like, wow, this is a kind of odd way to die and all this. But he then moves with his son from Minneapolis, where they were, to New York City, where he starts working as a police psychologist for the police department there in New York. We are known through like newspaper things that he's passing and all that the city has been plagued by a series of brutal, almost ritualistic child murders. And the first victim is this kid that is found in an abandoned movie theater. A policeman there, he claims that the crimes are being committed by members of a Hispanic cult practicing a malevolent version of brujeria. So Cal, who is Martin Sheen, he's appointed to examine this cop that finds it. And this guy starts talking about the the cult's leader and how powerful he is, and you don't know what they can do to us and all this stuff. So later, another victim is found, and Cal, who has a nanny / housekeeper, Carmen, she practices Santeria, and she's been leaving like protection spells in the house and everything. And so he starts asking her about this brujeria, and she's reluctant to even talk about it. She's just like, this is bad. You shouldn't even be knowing about this stuff. So Cal kind of hooks up with his kind of nutty landlord, who is Helen Shaver, and they become a couple quite quickly, and they are at this this highfalutin party with a bunch of top level police officers, politicians, and stuff like this. And this very creepy, mysterious Caribbean man, Paulo, attempts to steal a necklace from Jessica, his girlfriend. But what she doesn't know, what none of them know, is she had gone to the bathroom just before this scene that he tries to do this, and she had left her compact there. And Paulo then performs a little spell over the compact. There's the magic spell. But quite honestly, there's so many magic spells in this that it's ridiculous. He starts rubbing the compact with his fingers and murmuring and all this stuff. Anyway, they leave the place, and they get back home, and they find that Carmen, the nanny, is performing some kind of ritual on the child, and he throws her out of the house now. She's like, I'm casting protection spells and all that. And he's like, I don't need this shit in my house and all this stuff. Because, quite honestly, he's seen all these child murders happen.
Yeah.
So he's very upset with her. And he sends the son away to stay with the aunt and uncle, who are very, very wealthy. And they're out in the country somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So there's all sorts of stuff going on here that's all about the evil form of this particular thing, Santeria. And there's a couple of kind of cringy scenes where this is a Mexican religion, and everyone who's practicing it is almost portrayed as not exactly super intelligent. They're superstitious. They because it's 1987. They start doing all this stuff because now Cal is being like, he's starting to be convinced that maybe some of this stuff is actually true. So he's brought in a friend of his who performs kind of a purification thing on the house and all that stuff. Now his landlord lives across the street, literally across the street, in a building that he can see right to her window and everything. Anyway, she is kind of taken herself out of the picture of everything that he's up to right now. He's starting to investigate like police officers and stuff like this on the sly, because he thinks that they might be part of this whole ritual thing. And she has woken up one morning with a boil on her cheek. Remember, her compact case had a spell cast on it, and it's just ugly enough that she's like, I'll see you later. I'm not feeling great, and this thing kind of hurts and all that stuff. Well, by the end of the night, this thing it's taken over her entire face. And in a truly horrifying moment in this movie, it pops open and spiders start just pouring out of it. And this is 1987. So the CGI is not this kind of level. So they are using real spiders on her face.
God.
And it is... To quote Vanessa, it is harrowing. I had my fingers up in front of my eyes. It's just like, oh my God, because she's reacting, with her eyes twitching as spiders get closer to him and everything. And it is something else. But she's like falling around through the house and screaming and everything. And Cal, Martin Sheen, he's in his place and he looks over and sees this happening and goes running over there. And we realize that none of this has happened. She has this boil on her face and everything, but nothing has happened. It's just a very bad thing that this is in her head, which is, I believe, part of the magic that has been performed, is, drives you kind of insane. Anyway, she gets taken to the hospital, and Cal then goes to pick up his kid at his. I can't remember. I think it's his sister is the aunt. So it's her, Kate, and her husband Dennis, who have taken them, and she's not home. But in the living room, Dennis tells Cal that when he and Kate went to the Sudan when they were graduate students, they witnessed the power of a human sacrifice after allowing their gravely ill son to be sacrificed to end a drought there. And he was telling them that, this guy, his brother, or I guess it'd be his brother-in-law, is telling him that they have really bought into this kind of thing, and that they'd like Cal to be a part of this, and they'd like his son to be the sacrifice. So Cal is, understandably, like, fuck this shit and fuck you, and where's my kid? So he goes running upstairs, and the kid is nowhere to be seen, but all of these cultists now kind of pile in after him, and so he hightails it out of there, but he is quickly captured. He finds out that his sister is dead. So he's drugged, and he's brought to this abandoned factory where he's convinced that he has to sacrifice his son so everyone can have better lives. He's been drugged and all of this shit. And it's a pretty great scene where he's walking up towards this kind of makeshift altar in this very industrial factory, and he's looking at this goat that he's going to have to stab, and all of a sudden it kind of flashes in and out, and it becomes his son on this altar. Will he do it, you guys?
I have my
Will he
suspicions.
become a believer?
Right. I will just say there's a pretty stupid tacked on ending that I didn't like, that really didn't need to be there. But I don't know. There was a lot to like about this. First of all, it's Martin Sheen in 1987. Man, that guy has got a head of hair on him. And
True.
he looks so much like Emilio Estevez. It's interesting that he and Emilio resemble each other so much, and Charlie Sheen kind of sits off with like maybe a little bit of the eyes or something, but it looks like you're watching a movie with Emilio Estevez in it. Literally zero trivia on this movie.
Oh.
But I did find a review that I want to talk about.
There
and
you go.
I think you guys might get a kick out of this. It is titled More Mediocre Voodoo Shenanigans.
More.
Mm-hmm. This guy says, I'm not a good measuring stick for voodoo horror because I find it so boring. I even consider the voodoo Bond movies the weakest of the Roger Moore era, but still better than all the post-Moore 007 turkeys combined. Chicken sacrifice, spiders, snakes, and silly chants. Not scary and generally uninteresting, especially in an urban setting. Especially problematic when stretched to almost 2 hours, which is way too long for a witch doctor mystery.
Oh my God.
Part of it is the dull scenes of family drama, which could have been cut out or shortened.
Yeah.
The plot twist is far-fetched because it implies either a huge worldwide conspiracy or the more likely explanation that Sheen just happens to have several Satanists in his close circle of friends, which would be a wild coincidence considering that he is closely linked to the police unit investigating the child murders.
My God.
The African witch doctor is way too indestructible because, perhaps belonging more in a dumb Marvel-based superhero movie. The scene in which he imitates the boy's voice is, hence, idiotic.
Hey!
No.
Schlesinger's direction is rather meh, unatmospheric. He made the film too much like a drama. I doubt he had a clue how to direct horror films. He probably took this as an assignment for money. This guy is the same reviewer that reviewed Scare Campaign and used hence wrong.
Yes.
And now I feel like one of these days, you guys, I'm going to be like, well, our subgenre is a movie by Federate31 that he reviewed, because he has reviewed thousands of movies.
Oh my God. I'm so
Hence,
in.
he hates them.
I'm so in.
Part of what makes it amusing too is his absolute lack of knowledge of the things he speaks about. All Bond movies since Moore haven't been good, and the voodoo people are Satanists.
I'm
kind of
I'm
like,
fine with opinions. The Satanist part is wrong. I just can't get over the fact that he loves the word hence,
Yes.
but has never learned how to use it.
yes.
I just love that he brought in Bond for literally no reason. Like that
Well, it
is
had what, one
so
movie?
stretched.
One
Such a
movie, I think, that featured a little
Right.
bit of voodoo.
I mean,
So,
for
you know.
somebody that he obviously has seen so many voodoo movies that he's over it, but then says he hasn't seen that many. And I guess the only one he has seen is the James Bond one. So I'm just all over the place. I'm in a real roller coaster with this guy's experiences.
I love that same thing with that scare campaign one. He was like, I'm not a good measuring stick for it because I find it so boring, but here's my review. Like, well, maybe you're not the right person to be reviewing this movie.
Amazon will take anybody.
I hated before I even watched it, but I'm going to write about it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So it seems like you like your movie, though.
I did like it. There was a moment where I was like, oh, this came out around the same time as The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And The Serpent and the Rainbow or Angel Heart, these are much better movies than this one.
Yes.
It's almost like they were like, well, Hollywood is like, oh, well, let's throw a big budget and a big actor at this. And then you get, and John Schlesinger, the guy's no slouch.
And the writer, too. I mean, Jesus.
Right.
Well, for my magic movie, hold on to your butts. We're going to talk about The Page Master.
From the creator of An American Tale.
You're in need of adventure.
Whatever you imagine.
All is possible.
20th Century Fox presents Macaulay Culkin as you've never seen him before.
Look at this place.
On a fantastic journey into a land of endless wonders, where he'll scale the heights of the world's greatest adventures.
Moby Dick. LCP Treasure Island.
Happy birthday! And bring back the ultimate prize.
You've got to fight to make a wish come true.
That's it, boy.
His own courage.
Yes.
Macaulay Culkin.
You're the greatest.
Christopher Lloyd.
Build triumph here and always.
Take your family to a world beyond imagination. The Page Master.
Oh, man.
From 1994.
I was working at Suncoast when this damn thing came out. I have probably seen this many times. Well, not seen it, but heard it many, many, many times.
Oh, Eric.
Exactly.
Oh, Eric. Okay. Rotten Tomatoes score of 21% from critics, 48% from audience. Budget of $34 million. Box office of $13.7 million.
Oh.
Disaster. Just as a little precursor, I had not seen this movie as a kid. I remember the trailers and thinking like it looked stupid, and all the other kids said it was stupid, so I didn't see it. And then I was like, you know what? This has an incredible cast. In fact, it has Macaulay Culkin starring in it as the 10-year-old boy who's afraid of everything. We would know him from Home Alone. Christopher Lloyd.
Righteous Gemstones.
Which I really need to see. Christopher Lloyd is in it. He plays the librarian. We would know him from Back to the Future and Star Trek, where he plays an angry Klingon.
That's right.
It has Whoopi Goldberg in it, who plays a sassy book called Fantasy. We would know her from Ghost and from Color Purple and from Star Trek, where she plays Guinan. It has Patrick Stewart in it.
Oh, hey.
He plays the book Adventure, which is a swashbuckling, like one-eyed but not really, one peg-legged novel that has a really thick pirate accent the whole time through. And I was like, that is Patrick Stewart, right? And we would only know him personally from Star Trek because we don't need to talk about any of his other work.
X-Men? Jeez, ouch.
Okay, all right. X-Men. Yeah, you can throw in X-Men, but I don't want to talk about like conspiracy theory, you know?
The Mel Gibson movie?
Yeah, I saw that in theaters because I loved Star Trek so much.
Okay.
It was not my thing. It has Frank Welker in it, who I did not look up who these people have been and what. He's the voice actor, I think. He plays the book Horror. It has Leonard Nimoy in it.
Oh, jeez.
He plays Dr. Jekyll and a little bit less Mr. Hyde, but mostly Dr. Jekyll. We would know him also from Star Trek. And then Ed Begley Jr., who is not from Star Trek, I don't think. So it has an incredible cast. I'm like, there is no way. Like, I'm sorry, this is like so much Star Trek, people. I can't not see this. And Macaulay, who, like, he's having his Macaulay Sans, Culkin Sans, and I am there for it. So, this was directed by, the animation portion was directed by Pixody Hunt. This was his first directing credit. He went on to do a segment of Fantasia 2000. He's mostly known for being in animation departments. There's also a live action director, Joe Johnston, who did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Rocketeer, Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, Jumanji, Jurassic Park 3, Captain America First Avenger. He is really active. Written by a couple of people, which we'll get into later. David Kirschner did the story. He has 53 producing credits and 15 writing credits. He produced / wrote on Hocus Pocus, An American Tale, Frailty, Child's Play. We also have a writer, David Caskey, who did story as well. He's done 6 things, including Poppin' Fresh, Severed Ties, and The Young Santa, which is coming soon. And Ernie Contreras did the screenplay. He has only a few credits, but a lot of episodes of Smurfs. 44 episodes of Smurfs. And Grave Day High, which I don't know what is. So, it sounds like this movie should be good. Let's take a journey. Let's take a journey. Richard Tyler is a 10-year-old boy who's afraid of everything. His room, we start off in his room at night, lightning storm. It's covered in handmade caution signs like warning, high voltage next to the electrical socket and no smoking above his bed. He is just timid and on edge, super anxiety. This kid needs meds. When lightning starts to go off, he runs to his parents' room, but before he opens the door, he overhears them talking about him. His father is saying he just does not know what to do with this kid. He's so afraid of everything that he's not even going to get up into the tree house that he's building for him outside. And the mom says, give him time. He'll come around. And he's like, I can't, this is too much. He's not wrong. The next day, the dad asks, Ed Begley Jr. asks Macaulay Culkin to come up to the treehouse and help him with something. He's kind of trying to coax him up there. And Macaulay starts spouting out statistics about likelihood of accidents and fall ratios and how this is a very bad idea and will not go up. And then, of course, through a very wild antic, his father falls out of the treehouse and down the ladder and plops on the ground and looks up at his son, and son's like, see, told you. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you get on your bike and you ride to the hardware store and you get me 1 pound of nails, son. And his kid's like, okay. So gets on his very yellow bike with...
Wait a second. 1 pound of nails?
I know.
All right.
I'm going with what I was told. I don't know much about hardware, so I just was like, cool, I guess that's how we do it.
A box of nails, I suppose it could weigh 1 pound, but it seems odd that you would request 1 pound.
Are you going to put it in like a paper bag and they just like spurt through? Or
I'm sure that could be done.
Yeah. It's like that place in grocery stores with the nuts and the grains and stuff. You just go, nails.
I feel like this is my experience of hardware stores, but I haven't been in one since probably the early 90s anyway. So anyway, so he gets on his bike, and this kid, I mean, if you haven't already picked up that he's afraid of stuff, he is fully, it's yellow. It has a siren. It has a flashing light on it. It has a giant plexiglass front. He's wearing not only a helmet, of course, and like a light on his head, but he also has a safety vest, like those orange ones. And he's riding through, and he stops and he sees a bunch of kids who are on their bikes and they're doing jumps off of these like little not little, but like these homemade jumps that are in the middle of the street. And they're doing all this cool stuff, and they see him, and of course they start to make fun of him. So he cycles off. He's not cool enough to do this. And then of course a lightning storm breaks out again, and it is raining like crazy, but it's okay because there is a library nearby. So soaking wet, he runs in there to take shelter. And he meets the quirky librarian, Christopher Lloyd, who comes up to him and he says, oh, you're here for books, aren't you? I can tell. You know what? Just looking at people, I can tell what kind of books they're into. You're into adventure books, huh? Every young boy loves a good adventure. Sexist. He's like, yes, no, I am, like his eyes get all big. He's like, He's like, no, fantasy, you love fantasy books. Eyes still very big. You know what? No, you love horror books in the way that only Christopher Lloyd does. And the kid is like, I just want a payphone. I just want out. And he gives him a library card, and he's like, you're gonna find some good books here. You're gonna find some true stories that will take you on some fun adventures. So he's on his way to the payphone, and he is standing underneath this giant mural in the middle of this sort of marble-esque structure. And on it, the mural has, segments of Moby Dick and Jekyll and Hyde and other generic fantasy dragon stuff with wizards. And he just slips and falls and hits his head, because that's cool in the 90s, and it's fine. And suddenly CGI paint starts coming out of the mural and all over him. It's really freaking weird looking paint. It's like Odo from Deep Space Nine paint. So he gets covered in this paint, and all of a sudden he is an animated character. Oh my God. What will happen next? He starts to go through the library, and he meets an animated book, Patrick Stewart. And he's swashbuckling. He's like, oh, what do you want, son? Where should we go? Are you going to check me out? I have not been checked out in a long time. And then, of course, right after, he meets a fantasy fairy book, which has a wand and a lot of sass, Whoopi Goldberg. And then they meet a dopey Igor book, a horror book, voiced by Frank Welker. So I did skip a very important part, which is before he meets these books, he does meet the page master, who tells him if he wants to go home, he has to have 3 adventures. He has to have a fantasy adventure, an adventure, and a horror adventure. And that's the only way he can go home. And then the page master pieces out. So, of course, it's very, makes sense that he meets these books. So what happens next? They navigate their way through 3, at least, stories. One's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. One is a, what's it called? Whatever, Fantasy Island, I think, story. There's
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island, thank you. Thank you. I've not read it. And then it's just a lot of copyright-free stories. And then we have a little hint here and there of like things like Jack and the Beanstalk, and they have the thing from Gulliver's Travels, and there's like little things here and there, but it's just haphazardly swinging our way through various stories in a really, really boring way that never picks up with a kid that nonstop screams. Nonstop Macaulay Culkin screaming like the whole way through. And finally, completes his adventures, and he may or may not be braver for it all. And he may or may not come home a changed kid who is okay with doing bike jumps. I'm not going to take you through the story. You don't need to know. There's nothing to it. There's some fucking books that make jokes.
Did you like the animation?
Okay. Here's the thing. It started off really good. The animation, I was like, wow, this is gorgeous. They're really like going all the way. Like, I was like, it's fun. I wrote down the words, like, it's fun. It's design and characters are neat. The colors are really cool. I was stoked. And then the movie kept happening. And the animation, first of all, it stopped being fun very quickly. The characters stopped being interesting very quickly. And the colors started changing to like all these weird, like it was inconsistent. And the art started being a little inconsistent. And it just looked sloppier and sloppier as it went through. And I just lost such heart for it. It also turns out it's a musical. I know, because at one point they randomly play a song, or it's music oriented. It's, like a Disney movie. There's like a special song that happens 2/3 of the way through, and then in the end credits, because I think that's what they could afford. It was really weird and came out of nowhere. And I was like, what? My dreams can happen. Cool. There's fairies. All right. This movie, I really wanted to stop watching it, but I felt like I really needed to tell anyone who felt like I did that maybe it was worth looking at the Page Master. Maybe it was worth delving into. Maybe there was something there. There is not. There is fucking nothing in this movie. It is god awful dull. Like, It's got I don't like puns. There's a lot of puns in this. It meanders its way through a super forced plot. Nothing feels super earned. It's just randomly, I'm braver now for no reason. Cool, kid, I guess. The 90s clothes are very awful. There's a lot of khakis and tucked in shirts. It's not fun. The stories, of course, being copyright free mean they're just older, and we've seen them 1,000 times, mostly by other Disney things. This is not Disney, but it's just, and no actor can save this film from how bad it is. No one. Everyone's actually doing their level best. They're really trying. I mean, I was impressed with some accents and some sass and some, stumbly books nonsense, but the characters suck. Like, I don't care about these books. I don't want to buy these books as toys. Trivia. The tagline is...
I don't care.
Yeah, the trivia is, I don't care. The tagline is, all the adventure your imagination can hold. My imagination's way better than that, guys. Fuck off. Movie took almost 3.5 years to complete. The animation was produced by Turner Feature Animation, which was headed by David Kirschner, and recently had been spun off of Hanna-Barbera, which is why the animation at least starts off pretty strong. Their crew included animators and veterans of An American Tail, The Land Before Time, and Aladdin. One of the first films to combine live action, animation, and CGI. According to the film's animation crew, the film went over budget during animation production due to mismanagement and changes of the narrative. So basically, they figured out what they were going to do. They animated it. And then somebody was like, actually, the story needs a rewrite. And it got significantly reanimated, which is not a good idea with animation. Joe Johnston expressed his dissatisfaction over the production, claiming that the film was re-edited without his consent. He has since crossed the page master off his resume.
Wow.
Yeah. A number of deleted scenes are available in both animated and live action portions, which I did not have because I watched it for $4 on Prime.
Oh, no.
They'll be receiving a stern letter from me. Screenwriting credits for the film went into legal arbitration with the WGA when the producer, David Kirschner, attempted to claim sole authorship of the screenplay and the original story without giving credit to David Caskey. After a lengthy investigation of a lot of evidence that it was David Caskey's screenplay, he was determined to be the primary writer. All of this happened right before Christmas, leaving Fox basically threatening the WGA to release without their approved credits. To date, this is the most expensive and extensive investigation taken up by the WGA on behalf of one of its members. Wow. Also, a video game was released as a PC and handheld game for this film. That's it. This film sucks.
I thought you were going to tell us that the arbitration was the writer did not want his name on it.
I think because it hadn't come out yet, I wonder if they just
give me my payday.
Well, that's just it. If his name's not on it, then he doesn't collect his check.
Yeah, so. And David Kirschner, it's interesting that this was what happened with him because he has such strong credits, writing credits for things like Hocus Pocus and American Tail. I wonder whether or not he actually did write much on them or if he just was pulling some bullshit on all these different films. So.
Well, Mick Garris will tell you that Hocus Pocus was significantly rewritten from his script. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So at least he's got that one.
All right. Hey, way to go.
Oh, all right. Per many episodes that I enjoy, we have 3 startlingly different films.
We really do.
I have got 1983's Deathstalker.
Journey to an age of great kingdoms. An age of awesome magic. An age of terrifying evil. Where one man sought the key to the ultimate power. He was the man they called Deathstalker.
Reunite the 3 powers. You will be the power.
A brave man could get inside one car's castle.
and kill him. If he can capture the amulet of life, he will rule the world. But an evil wizard stands in his path. And to the victor, a beautiful princess. The greatest challenge. The greatest adventure. The most legendary hero of them all. The man they called Deathstalker. The last great warrior king. Starring Richard Hill and Bobby Benton.
Ooh.
Or 1984, depending on where you look. Rotten Tomato rating. Well, there's one pro review. He gave it a 60. So he liked it, but technically no pro review score and a 26 by the crowd.
Wait a second. So Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregator.
Right.
How do you aggregate one
They didn't
and
give
then
it a
give it a
score.
60%?
It's just underneath it had one review. So I clicked on that one thing and it showed you the one review they have so far from a pro on this. So it's not enough to give it a score.
Oh.
You have to have a certain number of
Right.
pro reviews or something.
Okay.
The budget, $457,000. The box office, almost $12 million.
Whoa.
This is a successful film.
Yes.
Whoa.
I didn't realize this even made it to the theater.
Yeah, no kidding, man. And Roger Corman production, kind of his Argentinian phase, where he made a bunch of movies in Argentina. This is directed by James Sparlati, who did a movie called Under the Gun. He's done a lot of second unit work, though, like on Love Potion #9, Humanoids from the Deep, Frailty, Reindeer Games, and The Island of Dr. Moreau. I bet he's got some stories, man. This is written by Howard Cohen. This guy has an interesting resume. One of his first films was The Young Nurses and Vampire Hookers. He went on for the smash hit of Saturday the 14th.
Oh.
And Striker, Deathstalker, of course. And then there's Barbarian Queen, Rainbow Bright, and The Star Stealer.
Yeah.
11 episodes of The Care Bears, 8 episodes of Rainbow Bright.
This is my entire childhood.
Saturday the 14th Strikes Back. And several more Deathstalkers and Barbarian Queen movies.
What a range.
No kidding.
Age grouping. I'm guessing the Rainbow Bright movies are not like this. Or Rainbow Bright would be a very different toy. Stars Rick Hill, excuse me. Might know him, but probably not, from Liar Liar. 24 episodes of Days of Our Lives. Dune Warriors. Deathstalker 4, but not 2 or 3.
Huh.
And the best known person in this movie is, of course, Barbie Benton, who you might know from Love Boat. She was on it 6 times, or Fantasy Island. She was on that 8 times. A movie called X-Ray, and frequent appearances in Playboy.
Yes.
That's what she's best known for.
Oh.
Richard Brooker, who played Jason, Friday the 13th, Part 3, and Deep Sea Conspiracy. And Lena Clarkson from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Scarface, and lots of TV. Plus, I think she went on to be the Barbarian Queen. So the movie starts off with some guy attacking a woman. Let me reiterate, 1983. Then out of around the area he's in come these strange mutant-looking creatures. I don't know what they're supposed to be. I don't know if they're supposed to be humans that mutated, if they're orcs. I don't know. Crappy makeup covering stuff. But out comes Deathstalker to stop them all with his incredibly long sword and a really giant bow. And you never see this bow again, but it looks like it's about his height. I mean, it's ridiculously large. Saves the woman and, let's say, tries to get her to thank him. But is interrupted by an old man, so the guy doesn't go into full villain right away.
Oh my God. That's such a polite way of putting that.
Yeah, she runs away. She gets away fine. So needless to say, at the beginning of this movie, Deathstalker is not a hero. He has an appointment or something with a king who doesn't have a lot of money, but whose daughter has been kidnapped, and he doesn't care. He said, you don't look like much of a king, and rides away. Then, of course, they show where the daughter has been taken because, they've got to let us know that Barbie Benton is the daughter. If you know the fantasy movies from the early 80s, this is one of them. Follows a basic hero on a quest kind of storyline and leads looking for money and power, not really protecting the innocent. So, he can go through that change. The makeup effects are kind of bad, but amazing at the same time. There's some that's like, oh, it looks really cool. And some like, holy shit. It's time to build the quest buddies. Let's bring together all the people that are going to go on the quest. And
a fellowship.
If you will, yes. Starts off with a new male actor coming into the fray in a wonderful chainmail half shirt like you might see in the early 80s. So it's,
oh my God.
So you can see his ripped abs and everything. And
beautiful.
So he's
protective.
Yes. He needs to get rescued, of course, by Deathstalker, although he can fight on his own. He's not as good, of course.
Mm.
And the part that makes he's really good, Deathstalker's really good, is because they use the speed up effect of film to make his swordsman look like it's going faster.
I love that trick.
So this new guy he's run into tells them about a tournament with this great grand wizard who's lived forever, like immortal. Live forever, thinks he's dying soon, so he's doing a tournament so he can give his power to the winner of the tournament. Okay. And now we bring in the woman of the team. She's introduced in, I would say, the scantiest outfit I've ever seen in any of these fantasy films. She is wearing a cape and straps that go under her boobs. Under her boobs.
What?
Red Sonja would go, no, that's too little.
You got to tease something there, lady. Just a little.
So, yeah, that's the introduction of his two team members who, of course, that night, our hero goes and opens her robe and lays on top of her. And they enjoy it, at least.
They squiggle.
Yes.
Wait, when you can tell they're definitely not really having sex in a movie, but they just kind of like wiggle around on each other.
Definitely that.
Very good.
There is now all these tough guys have arrived in this city. Let's all get together and have a drinky / sort of orgy, sort of weird shit going on. And of course, it's the early 80s, so there's a mud wrestling scene for no reason. Which, according to the trivia, involved two sisters.
Oh.
Okay, and there's a giant pig man. I don't know why. He just looks like a human, except his head is a giant pig.
Is it a cool looking pig?
It's all right.
All right.
He does eat some pig too while he's there. I mean, he sitting on the feeding area is a pig's head.
Oh.
He picks it up and takes a bite out of it because now it's got to have the giant fight, sort of a fight. The fighting choreography in this movie is not the best. And then they play this very strange, silly, happy music over the top of it while they're fighting. And Barbie Benton is being presented as a prize, and the lady warrior for Deathstalker is very pissed off about this and rescues her. So, nice things happen, I guess. The spell of the movie is not good for modern day.
Aww.
One of the wizard's henchmen is going to kill Deathstalker. But in order to get him to be able to get close enough to kill Deathstalker, the wizard turns him into Barbie Benton. In a very strange scene of the guy turning into the woman and groping himself as the change occurs.
This is the height of entertainment in 1983, Vanessa.
$12 million.
My God.
And 3 sequels. Actually 5 if you count the Barbarian Queen, because the lady that he meets there goes on to be the
it's a
Barbarian
spin-off?
Queen.
Holy
Yes.
cow.
So 5 movies came from this. So that's your spell. That's your main spell. There's a couple others. This does not have the problems that Jiu-Jitsu had in that these fights are short. When the tournament begins, it's pretty quick. Although there's an impressive kill with one of the guys fighting. There's the one little guy, of course, who runs around and punches everybody until the big guy finally hits him with a hammer, and you pull back, and it's just a pool. Like, oh my. So that's basically the rest of the movie. It's just that. And so there's really no reason to go into the details of a bunch of guys fighting in a movie. It's actually, honestly, one of the better of these kind of sword and sorcery movies. There were some really awful movies made in this period. And this one at least has a storyline, has okay acting, relatively speaking, although I did notice, now that you mentioned something earlier, the lead actor had kind of a bad wig.
Oh, snap.
Wonder what happened. Who did he piss off?
They had a stunt. Okay, so there's a stunt that's supposed to happen when Deathstalker was going to bust down a door using a horse. Lead guy said he would do it until the very last minute. And then I couldn't tell if it was the AD or the director himself who did stunts as well, said, well, I'll do it. So he gets it the day of, trains how to do it, does this stunt, and it's never used in the movie.
That sucks.
Like, well, that sounds kind of cool. The prevalence of a 1983 lead female, Barbie Benton, had 2 lines.
Oh my God.
There was a scene she was actually supposed to fight 2 men, which apparently was in the theater. Might have been on the VHS release, because I listened to a little bit of the audio commentary. Why? Because at that point of the movie, I didn't need to watch the movie itself. So let's see what the audio commentary is like. And so they were a little surprised that the scene was not on this reproduction.
Wow.
Blu-ray. And
What
several
a
scenes
moment
apparently were
to
not.
find out. Like, you're giving the commentary and you're like, wait a minute. I feel like we're missing something.
There was a lot of that. I only watched like maybe 10 minutes of the audio commentary, and there's at least 3 moments. Well, there's also this scene that we shot that I noticed isn't here, and there's another one. This is a Shout Factory release too.
Wow. So. Shout.
But the movie is supposed to end, another cutscene, supposed to end with Deathstalker riding away, and that friend that showed up earlier with the half shirt turns out to be a traitor. Earlier in the film, it's not important. But he's supposed to come back, take a swipe at him, and just kind of fall over. I don't know what that meant. And they're like, we actually cut that one. That one did not make it in the movie, because we watched it and goes, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Lena Clarkson used a real sword.
Oh.
For her fight scenes.
Jesus.
That seems dangerous.
Yes. Yeah. Film was shot in 37 days in the middle of summer, which is probably why everybody looks very warm. Not quite as sweaty as some of the other movies I've talked about. The box art was done by the same guy who did National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Nice.
Boris Vallejo.
Yes, Boris Vallejo. I mean, the box art is pretty,
really
pretty spectacular on this.
Yeah, really good.
Nothing like that happens in the movie, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
No, really. No, the lead, although in shape, does not look like that. The scene I was talking about at the beginning was a local mine group that they hired to come out and jump around. So this was a co-production of Argentina and the U.S., the first in the series of 4 films that Corman did, and 4 Deathstalker films, and then 10 additional films he did in Argentina during the 80s, probably because Deathstalker made so much money. I was like, I'm going to use this a lot. The movie's best known because it played incessantly on cable.
Yes.
It was
HBO.
on all the time. Launched the career of Lena Clarkson, as mentioned earlier, but went on to be Barbarian Queen 2, The Empress Strikes Back.
Oh my God.
And guest starred in episodes of Black Scorpion.
Oh, man.
So this was a fun film. It's got its issues like any 1983 film with sword and sorcery does, but it is entertaining. If you expect anything more out of a movie produced by Roger Corman with a cover like that, You're not going to get it. Disc set from Shout Factory is 1 and 2, Deathstalker 1 and 2. And it has come in and out of print a couple times through them because the demand for it when it went out of print got so strong that Shout Factory said, okay, we'll put it out again.
Jeez.
And it's gone out of print again, and that demand is coming back. Every once in a while, I'll see some post from Shout Factory. We have no plans to release Deathstalker again anytime soon. So it has its fans.
Wow. Well, magic spells, you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a very diverse collection.
It really was. I don't know if you can get much more diverse.
Eric, that means it is your turn to pick a subgenre.
So I figure we'll just go for a large open spread, but maybe not quite as many options for it. Any style of film, but as long as it's a movie that played at some point as a midnight movie. It'd be nice if it wasn't just, like a midnight screening of Sif of Bubba Hotep or something.
Yeah.
But was actually what you'd call a midnight movie. Obviously, like you don't need to worry about Rocky.
I'm doing Rocky Horror. Oh.
And having done Rocky Horror for a while, played the Shadowcast, I don't recommend watching it alone. It's a very entertaining movie in a theater.
Yeah.
It's not as entertaining when you're not with a bunch of people running around.
I'll make some enemies here. I think it is a shit movie, but I do enjoy the music. So,
some great songs in there.
Yeah, I like the soundtrack quite a bit. All right. Well, I like this idea. That means this is the part where we thank everybody for liking and sharing posts, for participating in the value for value system. And we just can't thank you guys enough. Thanks for all your support. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, should we get out of here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We'll be back in 1 week, and we are talking midnight movies. Strange Eons Radio is artisanal quality podcasting, handcrafted with all natural ingredients, and edited to perfection by Eric Morgret. Our blistering theme song is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider dropping a positive review on Apple Podcasts.
The world is really a piece of shit right now. That's all I have to say.